Listen, I need to tell you something that might completely change how you see those early years with your little one. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the first 5 years aren't just important. They're absolutely everything. You know what breaks my heart? I see so many parents rushing to teach their 3-year-old the alphabet, stressing about whether their 4-year-old can count to 20, panic-buying workbooks and flashcards, thinking that's what's going to set their child up for success. I see the anxiety in parents' eyes when their neighbor's kid can read at 4 and theirs is still just playing with blocks. I hear the worry in their voices when they ask me, "Am I doing enough? Should I be doing more academic prep?" But here's the truth that the research is screaming at us, and it's going to set you free from all that pressure. Before age 5, your child's brain doesn't need ABCS or 1-2-3S. What it desperately needs is something entirely different, something that will determine not just their intelligence, but their entire capacity for happiness, resilience, relationships, and success in life. I'm talking about emotional security, and if you've been worried you're somehow falling behind because you're not drilling academics with your toddler, I'm about to give you the most freeing, empowering information you'll hear all year. Because here's what's really happening in those early years. Your child's brain is literally under construction right now. It's building the foundation, the actual neural architecture, for everything that comes later. Every experience, every interaction, every moment of connection is wiring their brain in real time. And that foundation, it's not made of letters and numbers. It's made of safety, love, connection, and play. The children who thrive later in life, the ones who become emotionally intelligent, confident, curious, and resilient, aren't the ones who learn to read at 3. They're the ones who learn that the world is safe, that they are loved, that their feelings matter, and that they can trust the people around them. This isn't just my opinion. This is backed by decades of neuroscience, child development research, and longitudinal studies that followed children from birth into adulthood. And what they found will blow your mind. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what the science tells us about brain development before age 5. Why emotional security is the secret ingredient to raising brilliant kids. And then I'm going to give you practical, actionable ways to build this foundation in your own home starting today. But before we go any further, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. Because here at the Parenting Blueprint, we're all about giving you science-backed strategies that actually work. And I don't want you to miss a single one. All right? Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your child's brain during these first 5 years. Because once you understand this, everything else is going to make perfect sense. From birth to age 5, your child's brain is in the most explosive period of growth it will ever experience. We're talking about over 1 million neural connections being formed every single second. 1 million. Every second. Think about that for a moment. Their little brain is working harder right now than it ever will again in their entire life. But here's the critical part that most people miss. The brain doesn't develop randomly. It develops based on experience. Whatever your child experiences most frequently, whatever they practice, whatever environment they're immersed in, that's what their brain is wiring itself for. This is called neuroplasticity, and it's the reason why these early years are so incredibly powerful. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The very first part of the brain that develops is not the part responsible for reading, writing, or math. It's the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. This is the part that governs how we handle stress, how we form relationships, how we regulate our emotions, and how we perceive safety in the world. And this emotional brain, it's developing most rapidly from birth to age 3, with critical wiring continuing through age 5. During this window, your child is learning at a subconscious level. Am I safe? Can I trust the people around me? What happens when I'm upset? Will someone come? Do my needs matter? These aren't conscious thoughts. Your 2-year-old isn't sitting there philosophizing about trust and security. But their brain is recording everything. Every time you respond to their cry, every time you comfort them when they're scared, every time you get down on their level and really see them, you're literally building the neural pathways for emotional regulation, self-confidence, and secure attachment. And here's what the research shows us. Children who develop strong emotional security in these early years don't just become emotionally healthy adults. They actually become smarter, more successful, and better learners later on. Studies have found that children with secure attachment and strong emotional foundations perform better academically when they reach school age, not because they started reading earlier, but because they have the emotional capacity to focus, the confidence to try new things, the resilience to handle failure, and the curiosity to explore learning. Think about it logically. If a child is anxious, insecure, or emotionally dysregulated, how much bandwidth does their brain have left for learning multiplication tables? But a child who feels safe, loved, and emotionally regulated, their brain is free to learn, explore, and grow. So when we prioritize emotional security before academics, we're not delaying their education. We're actually building the strongest possible foundation for all future learning. So now that you understand what's happening in the brain, let's talk about how you actually build this emotional security. Because it's not complicated, but it is intentional. And the beautiful part? You probably already have everything you need. You just need to know what to prioritize. The foundation of emotional security comes down to 3 core elements: safety, connection, and play. Let's break each one down. First, safety. And I'm not just talking about physical safety, although that's obviously important. I'm talking about emotional safety. Your child needs to know that their feelings are valid, that it's okay to be upset, scared, or frustrated, and that you're not going to reject them or punish them for having big emotions. This means when your 3-year-old has a complete meltdown over the wrong color cup, instead of dismissing it or getting frustrated, you acknowledge it. You get down on their level, you validate their feelings, and you help them navigate through it. You're teaching them that emotions aren't dangerous, that they can be felt and managed, and that you're a safe person to come to when life feels overwhelming. Every single time you do this, every single time you're building neural pathways for emotional regulation, you're teaching their brain how to handle stress. And that skill, that's going to serve them infinitely more than knowing their ABCs at age 3. Second, connection. This is about presence, attunement, and really seeing your child. It's about putting down your phone when they're trying to show you something. It's about making eye contact when they're talking to you. It's about those little moments throughout the day where you stop what you're doing and truly connect. And here's what's powerful. Connection doesn't require huge amounts of time. You don't need to quit your job and spend every waking moment with your child. What matters is the quality of the connection. 5 minutes of fully present, attuned interaction where you're following their lead, delighting in them, and making them feel like they're the most important person in your world, that's more valuable than hours of distracted coexistence. This is where secure attachment is built. When children know they can count on you to see them, hear them, and respond to them consistently, they develop what psychologists call an internal working model of relationships. They learn that they're worthy of love, that people can be trusted, and that they matter. This becomes the template for every relationship they'll have for the rest of their life. Third, play. And this isn't optional. This is how young children learn everything. Through play, they process emotions, practice social skills, develop creativity, build problem-solving abilities, and make sense of the world around them. When your child is playing, their brain is working. They're building executive function skills. They're learning cause and effect. They're developing spatial reasoning, language, and imagination. All of this is happening naturally through play, without a single worksheet in sight. And the best part? When you join them in play, not directing or teaching, but just being present and playful with them, you're combining connection and play, which supercharges the developmental benefits. Now let's get even more practical, because I want you to walk away from this video with specific strategies you can implement today. These aren't complicated or time-consuming, they're simple shifts that make a profound difference. Start with your daily routines, those everyday moments, morning wake-up, meal times, bath time, bedtime. These are golden opportunities for building emotional security. Instead of rushing through them on autopilot, slow down and be present. Sing silly songs during diaper changes. Make up stories during bath time. Have actual conversations during meals where you're not distracted by your phone or the TV. These moments of connection add up. They're depositing into your child's emotional bank account, building that foundation of safety and trust we talked about. Next, prioritize unstructured playtime every single day. I'm talking about time where your child can just play freely without adult direction, without screens, without organized activities. Give them open-ended toys, blocks, dolls, dress-up clothes, art supplies, things from nature. Let them get bored. Let them figure out what to do with themselves. This is where creativity, problem-solving, and independence are born. And when you can join them in this play, getting down on the floor and entering their world without trying to turn it into a teaching moment, magic happens. You're connecting with them in their language, and you're showing them that who they are and what they love matters to you. Here's another crucial one. Validate their emotions instead of dismissing them. When your child is upset about something that seems trivial to you, resist the urge to say things like, "You're fine," or "It's not a big deal," or "Stop crying." Those phrases teach children that their feelings are wrong or unimportant. Instead, try this. "I can see you're really upset about that. It's hard when things don't go the way we want. I'm here with you. You're not fixing it. You're not solving it. You're just being present with their emotion and teaching them that feelings are okay." This is called co-regulation, and it's how children eventually learn to self-regulate. They can't skip straight to managing their own emotions. They need us to help them navigate those big feelings first. Over time, with enough practice being co-regulated by us, their brain develops the capacity to do it on their own. Also, create predictable routines and rituals. Young children thrive on predictability because it creates a sense of safety. When they know what's coming next, when bedtime follows the same comforting sequence every night, when you have special little traditions, these things communicate safety to their developing brain. It doesn't have to be rigid or complicated. Maybe it's pancakes every Saturday morning. Maybe it's a special song you sing before naps. Maybe it's 3 books before bed, in the same order, every night. These predictable moments become anchors of security in your child's world. And finally, take care of yourself. I know that sounds like it doesn't fit, but hear me out. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you're burnt out, overwhelmed, and running on fumes, it's almost impossible to show up with the patience, presence, and emotional availability your child needs. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's essential to your child's emotional development. When you're regulated, you can help them regulate. When you're calm, you can be their anchor in the storm. When you're present, you can truly connect. This means asking for help when you need it, taking breaks, getting sleep when you can, moving your body, doing something that fills you up, even if it's just 15 minutes a day. Because parenting from a place of depletion is exponentially harder, and your child can feel that stress in your body, in your voice, in the way you interact with them. Now let's address something important. What about those academic skills? Am I saying you shouldn't teach your child anything before kindergarten? Absolutely not. Here's the beautiful truth. When you prioritize emotional security, connection, and play, learning happens naturally. Read to your child every day, not because you're trying to teach them to read, but because it's a beautiful time of connection. Snuggle up, use funny voices, talk about the pictures, let them turn the pages. You're building language skills, vocabulary, comprehension, and a love of reading, all while strengthening your bond. Count things during everyday moments. Count the stairs as you climb them. Count the grapes on their plate. Count the cars that drive by. This is how children learn numbers, through natural, joyful interaction, not through flashcards and drilling. Sing songs, do puzzles together, build with blocks, play with Play-Doh, go outside and explore nature. Have conversations where you actually listen to their ideas, no matter how fantastical. All of this is learning. All of this is building their brain, and it's happening in the context of safety, joy, and connection, which means it's sticking. The research is crystal clear on this. Children who spend their early years in play-based, emotionally secure environments don't fall behind academically. In fact, they often surpass their peers who had earlier academic instruction because they have stronger emotional regulation, better social skills, more creativity, and greater intrinsic motivation to learn. Here's what I want you to remember. You're not falling behind by prioritizing emotional connection over academics before age 5. You're actually getting ahead. You're building the foundation that everything else will rest on. Think of it like building a house. You could rush through the foundation, make it shallow and weak, and start building the walls right away. Sure, the house goes up faster, but what happens when the first storm comes? When pressure is applied? That house is going to have serious problems. Or you can take the time to build a deep, solid foundation. It takes longer. It's not as flashy. You can't see the progress as quickly. But when you start building on that foundation, everything goes up stronger, faster, and more stable. And when the storms come, and they will come, that house stands firm. That's what you're doing in these first 5 years. You're building the foundation. And every moment of connection, every validated emotion, every playful interaction is making that foundation stronger. Let me share something with you that I think will really bring this home. There's a famous study called the Perry Preschool Project that followed children for over 40 years. They took a group of children from low-income families and gave half of them access to a high-quality preschool program that focused on play, social-emotional learning, and nurturing relationships. The other half didn't attend the program. What they found was remarkable. The children who attended that play-based, emotionally supportive preschool didn't just do better in school, though they did. They were more likely to graduate high school, more likely to have stable employment as adults, less likely to be involved in crime, and reported higher levels of overall life satisfaction decades later. This wasn't a program drilling academics into 3-year-olds. This was a program that prioritized exactly what we've been talking about: emotional security, play, and connection. And the benefits lasted a lifetime. Another powerful piece of research comes from the Harvard Center on the Developing Child. They've shown that toxic stress in early childhood, things like chronic neglect, inconsistent caregiving, or living in a state of fear, can actually change the architecture of a developing brain. It can lead to difficulties with learning, behavior, and health that persist into adulthood. But here's the hopeful part. The same is true in reverse. When children experience consistent, loving, responsive care in those early years, it literally builds resilience into their brain. It creates what researchers call a stress response system that's healthy and adaptive. These children are better equipped to handle challenges, recover from setbacks, and maintain their well-being throughout life. So every time you comfort your crying baby, every time you get down on the floor to play with your toddler, every time you patiently help your preschooler work through a difficult emotion, you're not just getting through the moment. You're building their brain. You're shaping who they'll become as an adult. And I want to acknowledge something here. I know this can feel like a lot of pressure. I know some of you might be thinking about moments where you lost your patience, where you were distracted, where you didn't show up the way you wanted to. Let me be clear. You don't have to be perfect. None of us are perfect parents. What matters is the overall pattern. What matters is that you're trying, that you're learning, that you're showing up most of the time. Children are incredibly resilient, and they don't need perfection. They need good enough parenting. They need parents who are willing to repair when things go wrong, who keep trying to do better, and who love them consistently. If you've been feeling guilty about not doing enough academic prep with your young child, I hope this video has lifted that weight off your shoulders. You're not behind. You're not failing them. In fact, if you're prioritizing connection, play, and emotional security, you're doing exactly what their developing brain needs most. The ABCs and 1, 2, 3s will come. There's plenty of time for academics. But right now, in these precious early years, your child needs something much more fundamental. They need you. They need your presence, your love, and your patient guidance through the big emotions and experiences of early childhood.